every time we go ahead and we have an agency owner call us up that's got a lot of feelings, I say, let's pull the numbers, let's pull the data. Once you see the data doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a breed. And so it is literally showing you what the reality is. Hey everybody, it is Kelly Donahue-Pirro here to talk today a little bit about how frustrating insurance agency reporting is and what reports we should be running to run a great agency. So we're not going to get into financial reports. We're going to get more into the blocking and tackling of exactly where your agency needs to be. I think that for so many agencies, when we first meet them at APP, what ends up happening is they send reports in and they know that they're wrong. And we work over about a 6-month period to get them right. And I'm going to share with you today some of the reasons why your reports are wrong, what reports to be running. And I'm also probably going to get a little soapboxy as far as what is going on in the wide world here of why we need to do this. Just a little update from APP. Last week, we were in Blue Ridge, Georgia, the mayor and I, with Kevin Painter Insurance, launching time management. He also then went on to San Diego to see Fusco and Orsini, a Rough Notes cover winner this year, to talk about the second half of time management with them. And happy that it's August. I can't believe it is August already, but we're here and ready to embrace reporting. So you might want to save this podcast maybe for when everybody's back in the season. I know a lot of times this time of year, we can have what we call the summer hangover. You've probably been a little short staffed for a few weeks in a row with everything with summer vacations, and August can be a brutal month. You've got to get those kids back to school, right? Also a good time to start planning what you want to do when you get back. So take this podcast, sit back, and enjoy listening to what reports we need to be running in an insurance agency. Don't forget, on Fridays, we release our Friday Roundtable where the mayor and I break down why the reporting is so important, what we've seen. If you've enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe to our podcast or YouTube channel, all of the things. So let's talk a little bit about the introduction to agency reporting and why we shy away from it. It is so common that I think agents have PTSD when it comes to insurance reporting, and justifiably. It is not easy. It is not simple. There should be the easy button. But the reality is most management systems are trying to be accounting, policy management, sales management, marketing, and they simply were not built that way. And most management systems don't have one way of doing things. They have multiple ways of doing things. And what happens is then the reporting becomes very difficult. I wanted to start here with just what are the major reasons that we see reports being wrong? The first one is just straight data entry. Everybody's doing things differently or at different time frames. So reportings capture a snapshot in that moment of what is going on. If a large commercial policy hasn't been renewed, well, don't expect your retention report to be right. If policies have not been coded as rewrites, expect your cancellation report and policy loss report to be very difficult. I do want to give a quick caveat that every management system has different terms for these reports. So we're going to try to speak as generally as possible today, but we recommend if you like what you see, going into your management system's help desk, identifying which these reports are is just a starting point. The other thing that we see with data entry is commercial lens is one thing, personal lens is another thing. There is something to be said for that, as they do have different workflows, but they should be using the same activity codes. They should be using the same sort of philosophies, just a 20% variance. This is going to help your reporting dramatically. You do need to document your processes 100% and then hold people accountable to completing them. When you start getting good at reporting, auditing your team becomes 10 times easier. Now, in this blog that we wrote on agency reporting, which hopefully you guys know that all of these podcasts are still tied to a written format, so you can go there and go step by step through everything. You can check that out on our website or in the show notes or in the YouTube notes if you need to. The reality is, truth be told, many people aren't following the workflows, and that jacks up reporting pretty darn dramatically, which we don't want. We definitely do not want that. So have your processes documented, check those processes, make sure people are using them. That is a key to reporting success. Next up, download. Download does dramatically change things. Every carrier downloads different. Every carrier might be an Ivans or their own setup. Your download settings might be accurate or inaccurate. And this is one where we go deep into, we do believe in commercial download. I know many of you out there might be cringing, turning me off right now. Fair enough. But the reality is commercial download is the way of the future, and it's not something that's going away. You do have to understand how your download works. So if you do not know how your download works, if you just throw your hands up when you see a wrong report, that is the critical statement, is understanding how it works, making sure your settings are correctly, and making sure that someone in the agency is on top of download. We've walked into agencies where some carriers haven't downloaded in months and no one knew. Well, that's on the agency to make sure it's working correctly. Next, it's how you set the report up. Lo and behold, I think there could be easily 7 bajillion fields in your management system. If you have the flexibility to grab certain fields, let's just say estimated premium or estimated revenue, and people aren't filling them out right, those reports are not going to be accurate. So it's a combination of data entry and grabbing the right number. There's a big difference between annualized premium and the current premium and the base premium. So you have to know what all these fields do, and you have to know how to set these reports up. Now, in my experience, most of the time your system will come with some baseline reports. Then you can go ahead and see what's working, what's not working. But the second half of it is that if you're building your own custom reports, you definitely need to understand which fields you should be pulling from and what they mean, because they will all tell you a much, much different story. It's very common when we ask agencies for the first round of reports that they're going to be like, that's wrong. And I'm like, okay, let's dive through. And it's a combination of 2 to 3 of these items. It's not just one thing that's jacking your reports up. It's multiple things. And the next one is understanding the report's intent. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a scenario with a producer and we're showing them the new business report and they'll say, well, I sold more than that. Well, if the report's going off effective date versus your binder date, that's different. It's a different measuring sticks. It's still going to show you the right data. We just have to understand the measuring stick. Or a book of business report. That's a snapshot in time. If you run that report again later that day, it's going to be different. You have to understand what the report's trying to do and what's trying to show you, not just say right or wrong. It's kind of like a matchup of, if I say 5 inches and you say 5 centimeters, well, depending on where we are, they're both going to measure something. But you have to understand those reports. This is where I'm going to go on my soapbox, which I know y'all love soapbox moments with Kelly. This is your responsibility as an agency owner. You spend a ton of money on the agency management systems. If you don't have someone in the agency that's dedicated to understanding the upgrades, how things work, getting the most out of it, you're missing out on so much. It might be that you don't want to be that person, and that's understandable, but somebody in the business has to know how this operates because it is your central command. It's the mothership. It is the thing that's holding the entire agency together. And when we aren't super clear on how that works, I'm going to tell you, you're not getting the juice from it. And you're going to want to go ahead and change management systems every couple of years because you think it's not serving you. Instead, find out how this one works. And I even go over some tips in the blog of how we go ahead and do that. Join your management systems user group. They all have one. It's a small investment, but it's a whole community. You can ask people questions in there, see what's new, see what people are doing. Connect into this community. Go to their meetings. There's usually regional meetings. We've spoken at many of them. There's a national meetings. Send someone there on a routine basis to get what's going on with the system. Technology will be powering insurance agencies. If you don't understand how to use your technology, you're missing out. Use the support line, knowledge base, and other resources for your system. So call them. Call them every day if you need to. Put in support tickets. Your road to understanding your system starts with you. So make sure you understand it. Find a management system trainer. So we at APP have contracted with Sue Good from Alexan, Mike Trillion from Insurance Automation, Angela Adams we've contracted with, Stephen Harrington, the diva of insurance for Hawksoft. Almost every system, and I say almost because not every single one, but the mainline systems have third-party trainers that you can contract with. Now, these are people that don't work for the mothership, right? They work for you, the agency. They've been in other agencies. They understand how to set things up. They're experts at training people in insurance. I can't tell you enough. Like if you want to move things in the fast lane, don't want to learn it yourself, partnering with one of these people is huge. We have spent literally tens of thousands of dollars on user guides for our programs. So we've got programs on how to run the top agency reports, which you're going to see here. They even go into detail with PDFs and with videos, how to track sales in each of the systems. We've got how to run retention through all the systems and how to set up renewal calls. We've got cross-selling documentation. We've got all sorts of things in our online school, which is our next one with subscribe to our online school. If you're not ready to commit to a trainer, that's okay. Subscribe to our online school, $245 a month. Every single one of our programs for AMS 360, Hawksoft, and Applied Epic has a guide exactly how to track everything that you would need to be successful. Renewal calls, sales, whatever it is, videos, PDFs, the whole 9 yards. So if that's what you want to do, just take one thing at a time, subscribe to our school and get that on how to use your management system to run your agency. Because remember, this is your agency. You cannot run your business on hope, on feelings. Every time we go ahead and we have an agency owner call us up that's got a lot of feelings, I say, let's pull the numbers, let's pull the data. Once you see the data, data doesn't have feelings. It doesn't have a breed. And so it is literally showing you what the reality is. And if your team is not using the system correctly, that is the number one thing that you need to focus on, is getting them to, so that you have the clarity and the transparency and the uniformity to operate your business. I often say, imagine one of your team members goes and works at a carrier. Do you think that it's optional how they want to do things? No, it is not optional. And it shouldn't be the same thing with us here in our agencies too. It takes a lot of legwork. Our programs will bring that module in and install it into your agency. So every one of our programs includes reporting, because I am super passionate about it. I don't want to hear like, yeah, no, I'm really prospecting. It's going great. Where's the report? That's the first thing I'm going to say, because I know everyone says one thing and then we do something different once we get it going. I think we've got down, how important each report is. I'm now going to kind of talk to you a little bit about what reports, the top 6. So in all reality, we have more than this that we run when we do our agency assessment or 2-year program. And each program sort of has its own strategy of what we run. We have everything from claims report to phone talk time reports. Like I said, give me the data and I can show you the story of what's going on. And we can also celebrate when things go on track. And we can predict when things go off track. The first report that we always run, it's simple. This is where we always recommend agencies start, because it's pretty cut and dry. It's easy to control. We're not talking about download. We're talking about straight data entry. And that is the activity report. So this is every time, the philosophy we have at APP, it's not in the management system. It didn't happen. It did not happen. Not, I don't care. It's on your notepad. Got to be in the system. And so every time we touch a file, we should have a documentation, whether that's email, call, chat. It should all go in there, and everything that needs to be followed up on should have an open activity, suspense, whatever your system calls it. We always look at this report as an indication of how good the team is documenting. And when they get documenting pretty well, what are we doing? We look at total activities. Are they up or down? You will see seasonality in your book. And if burnout starts to get high, you'll see those activities go up. So you got to do something to support your team. Activities by person, who's hustling and who's slacking. This also shows inaccuracies in documentation. So if you have some people that are over documenters and under documenters, this becomes apparent, so it can be addressed. From there, we can start extrapolating the data. This is what I mean. Reporting is a 6-month journey. There's going to be getting the reports right, showing them to people, identifying the workflows, and then usually around the 4 to 6 month mark, you feel comfortable with the data that's in there. It is a commitment. It's not something that is, you just snap your fingers or have a meeting on. And that's why all of our programs take a minimum of 6 months. Top activity codes. Love this. Most systems, I think QQ is the only one that I know of that doesn't. You can attach like a little label or code to each activity. So how many payments people took. By the way, eye-opening. We do that in our time management program, track payments. How many certificates they're doing. We love this one because it also says, are people honoring their job description? It can tell you how many times I see producer servicing. And I can't tell you how many times I see account managers holding on to low-level service work and not passing it on to a VA. That means that there's a problem and it has to be addressed. Top client activity. So this is the clients that have the most activities for the week. This one is always good. I always say no news is good news. If it looks good, we're good. But every now and again, you'll have that one week where like, what? Why do we have 37 activities and a $500 bop? And you go pull into it and you're like, oh my goodness, this is where our time is going. We had a couple agencies where one of the largest activity client was actually a prospect at an agency. They had more activities than the largest client by 25%, and they never won the deal. Well, I know what happened last fall in that agency, which was the wheels coming off the bus. But when you start to see this data, this will give you indications, warning signals of what's going on and what to do next. So our next report is overdue activity. Again, this should be a simple report. But this one, you'll find everybody's doing something a little different on, and that's why that first 6-month period, you'll need to sort of organize this and make sure everybody's doing things uniformly. Our agency efficiency program, also known as time management, we harp on this report because our goal is to be at 0 overdue activities by Friday. Our definition of 0 overdue activities is if it was due that day and it's not done by end of the day, it's overdue. Some agencies are like, well, we do like a 3-week look back or 3-day look back. I'm like, meh, don't do that. Don't do that. It's due. It should be worked on. 8 people need to learn how to manage their time. They need to know how to organize their time. They need to know how to put follow-ups appropriately. So in this report, we look at overdue activities by team member. This is going to show us who's backlogged. Now, one thing we harp on with our agency efficiency program is raise your hand. If you're backlogged, you have to raise your hand. People aren't going to be checking up on you every day. And the idea is no more than 3. You can probably recover 3 overdue tasks the next day. Anything over 3, you got to raise your hand. And you have to accept help the way the agency wants to provide it. Now, this is a challenge for some people because they think that, they only want this one way to happen, but it could be time off the phone. It could be a manager taking a few of those tasks. It could be looking and saying, we shouldn't be doing that. It could be saying, send this to the VA, send this to so-and-so slow. We cannot underwrite and micromanage how we get help. If we're backlogged, we're being selfish. We need to just manage that client and make sure that the client gets what they want. We have overdue activity by code. So what are our common overdue activities? Sometimes this is processing. Sometimes this is quote follow-up. Sometimes this is renewal review calls. And these are all high value activities that feel like you could do them another day, but we know we keep putting things off. It's not good. This will also help you identify maybe where we need to find extra support for hiring. So the overdue activity by code, really critical. And then average backlog. So this takes a little bit of Excel skills, but you can average out the backlog of days so that we can see, it's not uncommon, by the way, for us to come into a new agency and be backlogged over 30 days, which means we have old funky tasks. Think of it like your refrigerator. There's always that one thing that needs to get thrown out. There's some funk tasks that need to be cleaned out. We really want to get that to be under 2 days on a routine basis so that anything that's in there is fresh and being currently worked. But a 30-day-old task, people, it is time to do the spring cleaning and get rid of those. Just XML, please, by all means, please. So next up is lost policy report. So this is the people that have moved their business, could have passed away, died, merged, got into a fight with one of your account managers, whatever it is. But we should be looking at this as policies, premium, and revenue. We want all of them to be as minimal as possible. But sometimes you'll start to see as we tier clients and we go through that some of the lower level clients are leaving, and that's okay. But we need to see all 3 numbers. I also like to say, boom, here's the list. Here are the clients, the names, the premium revenue that we lost. Because that's a humbling moment for the team to see the names live and say, what happened here? This also allows you to do a little research. Lo and behold, everybody thinks that they're perfect. But when you go look at the notes in the system, you might find out the true reason someone decided to depart your agency. And that's a teachable moment. We also like to look at lost policies by carrier. Who are the carriers? Maybe they're having issues that we need to address. Lost policy by type. Generally, you're going to find personal lines auto is going to have the highest churn rate. So maybe we need to make sure that we're looking to secure those policies by cross-selling. And the lost policy reason, one of my favorites. And you'll say, well, they're just going to put in whatever they want. Well, again, you can go audit this stuff. And if you have an issue where you think your team's lying, that's a bigger issue that needs to be addressed and dealt with. Honesty is the best policy, as we know. And so it is so critical that you think about the lost policy reasons. And we actually don't put price on there. We put price remarket, price no remarket, because we're an independent agency. We should be able to address that. A lot of times price is just the straw that breaks the camel's back or the thing that the client tells you and it's not the truth. There's been no communication on that account for 4 years. It was not price, people. It was relationship. They just used price as the excuse because they could have called you to work it out. But if they didn't call you, the downside is relationship. They didn't know they could. And you lost a customer you might not have had to. That one allows you to keep your retention high. Now, lost policy and new business, where you need new business nets, must be impeccable. They must be on the money. And the reason why that is because if you don't have those 2 right, you will not get an accurate retention report out of almost all your management systems. So now let's move on to new business. New business, we look at new policy count, premium, and revenue, which is awesome. And we want to compare that. Are we selling more than we're losing? Now, there is more churn in the book because there's endorsements and rate increases, et cetera. But it's good just to kind of keep an eye. Are we replacing what we're losing? You want new business sales by agent. And I'm telling you, if you are a licensed agent that sells, a leaderboard, just put it right on up there, front and center. Don't hold back. Don't be shy. Don't think, I wonder if they're going to be mad if we see it. Doesn't matter. They're in sales. They can see it. When they see it, they will sell more, and that's going to make everybody's problems go away. We also like to do new business by source because I want to know what lead sources are working the best. How are people sourcing their opportunities? In many agencies, there's producers that are waiting for the phone to ring. In fact, that's their strategy. They are aggressively waiting for the phone to ring. Well, if you want them hunting, that business source is going to be key to see. And then new business by carriers. I love this one because a lot of times people are going to place business with the most aggressively low rate. What happens with the most aggressively low rate this year is next year it blows on up. And I believe every agency should be having core carriers. These are carriers that we want to promote. These are carriers that we need to promote. And we should be making sure we're feeding those business that, because a lot of times people are placing business not thinking about the commission rate. But if all things are $50 apart and one carrier pays you 14%, one pays you 11%, there's a big gap in revenue there that we could be making up. So those are the new business ones that we like to run. And then the final one is the holy grail. So important, yet probably the one that provides the most amount of frustration. So this is retention. Retention only works when the whole system is clean. That's it. Otherwise, it's just literally a shot in the dark of what we got. So that's why we do this one last. So we look at policy count of retention, premium retention, revenue retention, department retention, person retention, both account managers and producers, policy type retention, and carrier retention. Really, really important to see all those numbers just to understand what's going on in your book. As an independent agent, the ability to remarket is awesome, and the ability to sell new business and to keep customers as their lives change is great, but we need to be working that retention. Your money is in your book. And I know everybody loves focusing on new business, but as your agency grows, and that's kind of the agencies I get to work with is, they've got the 15 people plus, they've got the multiple markets, things are messy. These numbers will help give you a lot of clarity on what to do next. All of this is included in our agency assessments. We actually go through this and another additional amounts of reports so that you can see what's in your agency. The assessment's kind of like a little physical for your agency. You get to get partnered up, clarify everything from job descriptions to goals to incentive plans. Get in there, really build a great infrastructure, clarity with your team on communication and where you're going and how to go ahead and get there, which is awesome. So check that out. We'll help you get these started. We'll go through that 6 months of learning and organizing those reports to make them accurate. But remember, reporting's in all of our programs, whether it's agency efficiency, we have our own set of reports there. If it's sales, we have our own set of reports, retention, or commercial sales program. All of them have their own set of reports that we're going to work on with you. Or look at our school, go subscribe. You'll get them all right now. You can literally get access to this stuff right now. So this podcast has you on fire. Go for it. Also, check us out Friday where Keith and I talk about some reporting blunders we've seen and how to avoid them. Thanks, everybody. Go have yourself a ridiculously amazing day.